My mother was born to a blended Muslim and Christian family in North Africa, 1925. So the Casablanca and all of that. Her parents were attorneys, and she lost both parents at a very young age, both from heart attacks, and then had to move to a family farm, as far as I can tell from her stories, outside of Paris, France, where she stayed for a while. And then a lot of the badness started in Europe in the 1930s. And as the war progressed, the family thought it was best for her to be in a convent. They thought that the convent would be respected, so she was moved to a convent outside of Paris as well, and it wasn't respected. So Mom had to see the German invasion, had to see the Gestapo, had to see the Allied lowering. She not only persevered, but she triumphed. And she came out of that as a nice young woman and moved to the City of Lights, Paris, France, just to soak it all up. A few years later, a young man finishing Harvard Law School got, as a graduation present, a trip to Europe. And he didn't bring home souvenirs. He brought one. This gentleman, just to kind of give you an idea of what type of life she had, when he went to Harvard Law School, his roommate was a young man named John F. Kennedy. So she got to move from that life that she had into, she thought was going to be a wonderful thing, but the City of Lights in Boston, Massachusetts are not the same. So they were married for many years, but then she just couldn't take it anymore, so she made the decision to strike it out on her own. So sometime in New York, what you're seeing here is her coming to the United States, trying to find that nightlife like she had in Paris, France. So she sponsored a singer for Dallas, and as she was getting ready to go to the opening gala, she dressed to the nines, made her grand entrance and fell on the stairs. Young man in the corner could not stop laughing. My mom was furious. My mother was absolutely furious at the fact that he was sitting there just making fun of her. So life was good for her a while. But he was in the Texas oil business. And if you want to know one thing about Texas oil business, not how much money did you make, how many times you get broke. And so the money ran out, and he ran out. I got to live some of that, and it was hard, but it taught me a huge lesson in life. So we were there together. We struggled with that together. We got through all of that. I grew up. We had a pretty decent life. Got a good job. But Mom and I were inseparable. I wanted to make sure that she could, I couldn't do it all the time financially, but I wanted to make sure that she could not want for anything. And it did got to a point to where I could give her a little bit back. But we were working partners. We were best of friends. She was my mom and she was my dad at the same time. And then as life goes on, I got married, moved out of the house. Mom had to strike out on her own. She moved from our place over here, picked up this place and just did what she loved to do, which was to put the arts back into it. Had a great time. About 2 years ago, she started having some issues flying. We had to have EMS break down the door. She went into a hospice, but she beat hospice back and actually was able to come back home and spend the rest of her days here. My mom, instead of waiting until after her birthday, she passed away in the month of May, which is the month that we observe the Virgin Mary, which my mom adored and prayed to. And she also did it during the season of Easter, which is all about rebirth. So, there's all this stuff that really connects to it. But, and then you all have the monitoring system, so I can call and say, hey, I haven't heard from Mom. How's she doing? And he said, well, we can't tell anything we can't tell whether she's having a conversation. We can tell you she fell. And as you all know, and I learned, falls are the most critical thing that can happen to somebody. And so when you're an hour and a half away, did she fall? Well, y'all solved that for me. Y'all solved that for me. Because the whole thing started because Mom could not come to me. Well, yeah, one of the first things that stands out is that even when things are good and you've created this wonderful condition, for the family member that's the caregiver, the caretaker, the load is just unbearable because you're worried about that. I don't have my phone with me, but did I tell you that story? That I used to carry that phone, waiting for a phone call? I used to carry that phone 24 hours a day because she could call me at 4 o'clock in the morning and tell me she was scared. And I didn't have to do that. That was a huge load off of my shoulders. It was great to be able to call and get a call back in 20 minutes. I did like the way that the new answering service, they do step through a routine and tell me what's going to take place. I get the call back. So 2 o'clock in the morning, something that's kind of going on. My mom's kind of going off a little bit. I can call and say, do we have a caregiver special? Schedule? And there'll be somebody there. I didn't know that, but she hadn't told me that. But being able to have that constant contact where somebody's like 5 minutes away and psych my mom, and that was really important. We did have the time that she cut her head. You all were here when she passed. And that huge comfort to me. She did not pass alone. Okay, so we've discussed the rates that your caregivers go out for, and that's reasonable. Extremely reasonable.
So Miss Danielle was our firefighter. She would call. We had to give her our name, our number, no matter how many times we've been here with her. She'll ask for our name and number. And if we give her the office number, for some reason, she knew it was the officer. She'd be like, no, I don't want that number. I want your number. So she had our cell phone numbers. And she'll call, and she knew our names, and she'll ask, who's coming tonight? And we'll tell her. We'll bring her a calendar. That calendar will go missing within 20 minutes. And then you can't say, I brought you a calendar, because she'll swear, you didn't bring me anything. So we never argued. We were like, okay, we'll bring you another one out. Only person she didn't argue with was Ben. But it was so sweet. She was the sweetest thing. We got the alert from Cincy that she needed oxygen that evening. She asked the caregiver. The caregiver called me and said, she's having a hard time breathing. I said, we got the alert. Go ahead. You can put the oxygen on her. That was the last alert besides her asking for prune juice. And then that was it. She went peaceful that next morning. It was peaceful that next morning. But she was just that week. She was a Spitfire out in the backyard, smoking a cigarette, going on, just peaceful about her whole situation. And that's the way she was the whole time.
As I told you, my mom loved to be in the party. She loved to be the party. So while we were together, we would entertain and we would put a party on, a holiday dinner or something like that. Just Taiwan, have friends, have neighbors come over. Yeah, I worked for the New Braunfels Police Department. I've been there about 2 years. I worked to see Stassi. So death is, like I said, I'm kind of kidding myself. We're the angel of death. We become very desensitized to it because we see not what you see in the casket. We see the blood, the brains. It is so important to have somebody that knows what you're going through and knows what your loved one's going through to be part of it as well. Because you counseled me a bunch of times. So, I can't see it any other way. And as you know, my wife is starting to see a little bit of a decline in her mother. And what's the first thing I told her to do? We are who we are because of what they do right and what they do wrong.